You're tuned into the It's Real podcast with your hosts, Kayla Kallander and Andrew Yagi. Each week, we'll talk about what happens behind the scenes working full-time in real estate and share with you real-life stories, our successes and failures as we work to help consumers and industry professionals reach their real estate and real-life goals. Here we go.
Welcome to episode 80 of the It's Real podcast. I'm Kayla Kallander and I'm a mortgage lender.
And I'm Andrew Yagi. I'm a real estate agent. Happy Monday, Kayla.
Happy Monday. Happy Monday. How was your weekend?
I was going to ask you first. Ladies first.
Okay. Well, my weekend was interesting. I'm sure you saw and probably experienced lots of storms in the area.
I was scrolling, catching up on social media. I didn't have a lot of time yesterday, but I was kind of looking today and saw that you guys had a little bit of a storm out there at the lake.
Yeah, what's crazy is this wasn't even Friday when all that came through, but this was Sunday morning, just it's called a wind sheet. And so our neighbors' docks were flipped, pontoons are moved, trees uprooted, but it was so strange because there was no warning or anything. It was just wind. But I know a lot of people around North Dakota and Minnesota got hit so bad Friday. I had a client call me, he's my nephew, but his place flooded. He just bought a house in November. And so a lot of people reaching out, what do we do? But wow, the insane amount of damage done around North Dakota, like Hope Page, Enderlin, wild. So it was a weekend of a lot of people cleaning up, hot weekend, really warm weekend. So we played a little, but we also worked a bit at the lake. So that was my weekend. But
very nice.
Your turn.
My turn. Thank you. I had, kind of a nice weekend. My wife and girls, they were gone just for an overnight, Friday night overnight. So I got together with some different friends. Actually did quite a bit of flying, both in the professional contract sense and also for fun. I had donated an airplane ride. I donate a few to different auctions, during the year. And I actually had the opportunity to give, to redeem one of those rides over the weekend. One of my daughter's teachers last year, I gave her and her husband a ride over the weekend. So we went for a quick little spin around.
Wow. Where did you guys go?
Just kind of bounced around the area, went over Lakes Country. It was toasty even Saturday morning. And then I actually get to go out and do a little float plane flying as well, which was kind of fun. I ran out to Otter Tail Lake for the day and had to go and see a lake client whose property we're going to list, and then took off. I had several people send me videos or pictures of me flying out on the lake.
Oh my gosh!
Taking off. So that was departing to head back. So
that is awesome. It's so cool. How many times a week do you feel like you are flying, or are you actually flying?
It really depends. It's like anything, it kind of ebbs and flows, but I would say probably at least 3 times a week in some capacity. I've got some upcoming trips, just kind of doing some flying today or tomorrow, a day trip. I've got to reconnect. I've got one of my flight students who I gave him kind of his first Young Eagle flight as an 8th grader. And now he just graduated from high school. We were trying to get his private pilot's license done last year. We just didn't quite get it done. So I've got to make a note to connect with him just so we get him done before he goes to college this fall.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So fun. That's so cool that you get to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it was the weekend went by really quick. We kids kind of got back, and then we had kind of a good time hanging out with some cousins as well, and just kind of a fun, varied, all around good weekend, Kayla.
Well, the warm weather helps. We were driving past Lake Lida yesterday and we rolled the windows down and my husband's like, oh, it's so hot. And I'm like, it feels so good. It's like, I don't remember a time I ever rolled the windows down in the winter. I'm like, oh, that cold air feels good. It's just, everything is just easier from getting outside and you want to be in the water. And it's just, we really love that humidity around here, especially if you're in the lakes area. I don't know. I like it.
Well, we're, and waking up this morning now, and it's obviously breezy and quite a
Yeah.
bit cooler. I flew out to Western North Dakota yesterday, and when I left Fergus Falls, it was 93. When I
Mhm.
landed out in Dickinson, it was 54 degrees
What?
and rainy and cold. So here I'm coming. I've got my t-shirt and shorts on, and it was like, ooh,
That's
I
chilly.
was only there for about 10 minutes, just dropping somebody off, but it's like, ooh, that it's just
Yeah.
amazing just the, how much the weather can shift, especially in the backside of a pretty major storm system.
No kidding. Gosh. Yeah. And especially around here, when we go from like -30 to like 10, we're like, wow, it's warm. But when we go from like 90 to 50, like that's chilly. But North Dakota, that's what we live for.
For sure. Well, what else? It's obviously been a couple of weeks since we've connected, just, as we're kind of in that busy season. You
Mhm.
a little bit busier than I am, hustling any number of buyer clients and trying to keep balls and deals in the air, so to speak. But what have
Mhm.
you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, we saw a little bit of a decline in applications actually, probably last week. Week before that, quite a pickup. I think overall, I think nationally applications were up 12.5% the week before,
Okay.
down a little bit. I think that sometimes those rates will kind of determine if people apply the time of year. Normally around the 4th of July, we see a decline because people don't want to be looking at homes or doing anything. They want to focus on like their, holiday. But we're seeing a lot of people still in the market. I'm seeing a lot of homes in this area that my clients are looking at sit a little bit longer. I still remember it was like, hey, this has been on the market for a day, where now it's like, this has been on the market for 30 days. And it seems like clients just have a better experience lately because, and we talked about this before, they don't feel this like pressure and rush. They can really think about the decision. So when I say that, I share also that we've had a lot of conversations with clients about why it's a smart idea to purchase now, what the benefits are. Oh, you're going to get a seller credit. Oh, you can do a quicker close. There's just a little bit more flexibility with everything for the client. So we're seeing a lot of people more so just taking their time, I guess you could say.
Sure.
So, what
Sure.
about you?
Yeah, so I would agree with that. On the real estate side, I think there are a lot of people that are waiting. Even I was following up with a couple of agents here on who had buyers that looked at some of my listings, just seeing if they had any interest. No, we're pondering, but boy, we don't see that price. We'd probably come
Yeah,
in lower. I said, hey, bring us an offer. Like, it's always good to see an offer on the table, even if
right.
it isn't ideal for the sellers. In some ways we're seeing, I think maybe the market correct a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it just really, it's really kind of interesting to see the changing dynamic this year as well.
It is,
So,
and I love that you say that, Andy, because we had a client. They are set to close June 30th, and as of June 3rd or so, they had no offers on their property. They want to move forward on this new property they found. Their goal is to move. They need to sell their house. So at that point, they were willing to pretty much accept any type of offer, now within reason. But a lot of people don't know that you might be making an offer on a property that somebody needs to sell. You don't know the situation, so it's always worth it. And so I love that you say that.
can I, that just jogged my memory. Can I vent for just a minute?
Granted.
So I had, obviously, emotions can run really, really high in real estate, and we talk about that quite
Yeah.
often. One of the benefits of hiring an agent and working with professionals is to kind of, circumvent some of that, to keep things objective, to keep everybody on track. And as agents, we're supposed to not put emotion into it. We're not supposed to be tied to a particular outcome. Of course, we're here to help people reach their goals. So, speaking of someone, having to sell a home and other individuals having to sell in order to buy, I've got a property listed, and the individuals that need to sell, they want to move the property. They're not wanting to give it away, but another agent had a set of buyers that said, "Hey, I want to bring my buyers. Are they open to a contingent offer, an offer contingent on their home selling?" And so we talked about it, and I said, "Yeah, they're open to it. Come and show it. Bring us an offer." Brought us an offer. The home in this particular marketplace was more than 2 times the price of the home that we have listed. And we haven't had probably as much activity as I would have guessed, just because as you start getting into these higher price points, it's
Mhm.
challenging. And so all of a sudden, we're in the $300,000 range. These guys are in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. And it's like, ooh, yeah, really, really nice offer they brought. However, we talked about the pros and cons of accepting this offer. And maybe even though we could accept it, someone could bump their offer. We generally, Kayla, see traffic go down if we have show on the MLS that the property's under contract contingent on a home sale. There are some agents that are not going to show that home. There are some buyers that are not going to look at it. And I said, hey, I think we keep this on the back burner. It's a nice offer. We'd love to accept it and thank them for it, but probably not right now. This agent was just incredulous and was so upset about how dare you waste our time, my buyer's time, getting their hopes up. And it's like, okay, like let's settle down a little bit. Like I'm going to do number one, what's best for my client. You should do what's best for yours. But then again, also, well, I'm not sure why you're making this personal when this is very much just business. And I can certainly see both sides, but it just gets really frustrating. And I'm having increasing frustrations, Kayla, with agents. In fact, I saw this, and you maybe saw it online as well too. But we talk a lot about finding your agent of choice or your lender of choice, someone who's professional, who actually works in the business. Looking at this, the number of homes that are sold, again, what Ray Garrett had originally posted on LinkedIn, there are at least 500,000 too many realtors in the marketplace. And the data is unmistakable. So looking at back in 2021, when things were really moving, this red line shows the National Association of Realtors, the NAR membership in millions, and then this shows the units sold in millions and the units per agent. So again, there are, and I'm not saying this particular agent shouldn't be an agent or anyone for that matter. I don't make those decisions, but I think some of that does tie in. There are some agents out there who are really starving for business. And I think that's sometimes why emotion comes into play. And the same thing with lenders as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, we had a deal last week, and the listing agent, Andy, well, I guess you probably know this, but we let our agents know appraisal's been ordered. It is due this day. We will let you know when it comes in. We will also let you know once we're final approved. We let everybody know, right? And we let the listing agent know it's going to be due, let's just say June 26th. The agent would not stop calling me and asking, have you gotten it yet? Have you gotten it yet? Have you gotten it yet? And people don't realize, like, we are busy. Like, we don't have time to just field calls. And, we've let you know that it's due this day. And normally I'm just very cool. I'm like, hey, we let you know it's due the 26th. We won't hoard it. We are not going to keep it. But I looked up the agent, and they've done one deal all year. And so I share that too, Andy, because I think that there's this scarcity mindset and doing whatever we can to get the deal. And I think that we're really seeing the lenders and the realtors that really care about the people that are still doing the great job, and the ones that maybe are just struggling, which we all struggle. We all have our years, but you can really see a difference in putting the consumer first and not based on, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, I could be wrong, based on the fact of how hungry are you for that deal. And I'm seeing it more than ever. And it kind of breaks my heart. What's that?
I said the commission breath, when you can tell that they need the deal so bad.
Yeah.
And that's when things kind of go off the rails, which, is really unfortunate. But
it is. But I like that graph, though, because it does show. And I think that's just a message to our audience, too, of who you work with matters, because, you want someone that's going to have your best interest at heart, not your best interest for the dollar. And so I appreciate you sharing that graph, because I kind of agree.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Kayla, there are some agents out there who don't do a tremendous amount of business, who are actually a pleasure to work with.
Amen.
And actually do a good job. I don't know if you saw this online either, but as long as we're talking about agents, and you read this about the 100-year-old Maryland realtor still selling homes and closing deals like a bridge game.
Mary sold 3 homes. I mean, go Mary.
And she's always looking for new business. The hustle doesn't stop at 100. I kind of like that.
I mean, good for her. I don't know if I'd be hustling at 100. I think I'd be playing bridge at the nursing home. But I mean, kudos to her.
For sure.
It's just probably a treat to work with.
I'm sure she is. So, Kayla, I have to share, I'm a little bit disappointed in you.
Oh, for Pete's sake, why?
well, you leave Pete out of this, but I'm
Okay.
disappointed that you did not make it to the Hatch
Oh,
Summit
I know, Andy. I know.
last week.
I knew you were going to be disappointed, but I know you went. Tell me about it. How was it?
Yeah, I did go. It was good. And, Eric Hatch was messaging me and he said, if you better not show up here without Kayla.
He did not say that.
He
Stop
did.
it.
He did. He texted me and said, bring Kayla to this event. She needs to be here.
I would like to see the receipts on this.
I said, I agree. She does need to be there. But so it was a really, really good event. So I've been to a lot of national real estate events. In fact, I try not to go to real estate events because it just, it's kind of the same stuff regurgitated over and over and over again. I've been to Tom Ferry events, I've been to Remax events, to EXP, Follow Up Oswego, a variety of things, and all really good events, good content. But I think Eric Hatch and the Hatch coaching team put on an event that's in line with a lot of these national events and in a much more intimate environment. I mean, coming to downtown Fargo. The other thing I really love too is he actually attracts a variety of people who are not in real estate either. I was sitting down and visiting with former friends and colleagues and people I know, any individuals from investors to attorneys. I ran into a guy, Neil Van Dam. Neil and I interned at Northwestern Mutual together in college.
Yeah.
And he's really, went that financial planner path and really is doing really well. And then, in fact, we also, Kayla, saw Gary Thoroldson and Andrew Abernathy. Gary's the first billionaire in North Dakota, and Andrew's kind of his protege a little bit. So it was really cool to see those guys and just kind of learn almost, maybe unrelatable to some degree because it's like, boy, I can't relate to the billionaire piece, but still really cool to see someone who's homegrown, who came and didn't come from much, who really,
cool.
took something and ran with it. So it was a good event, and I'm kidding. I mean, I would have loved to have seen you there, but I know you were extremely busy. I just think next year you gotta prioritize that with your team.
I will prioritize that with my team, but I say we, but me, I am planning to go to the Forward event. And actually, Eric Hatch was there last year too. That's in Vegas. And that's an event that, again, like I love the Hatch Summit because what you're saying is it's not just about real estate. It's about, this entrepreneurship mindset. It's about, personal. It's all the things because you can get real estate and mortgage training and coaching anywhere, right? Like we get bombarded with it. In fact, I really feel like you could invest yourself into debt with how much coaching you can get. But what I like about these other events is it brings other aspects in that are so important in our business that we don't even realize. So I'm going in July to the Forward event. And that is one where it's not, I used to go to all these mortgage events. It's just so refreshing to get the feedback of all these other people. Alex Hermosi was there last year. And it's just wild how you can apply that to your business here, whether you're in Fargo, North Dakota or Las Vegas. I mean, it's really powerful, the people in the room too, and the connections.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It is really fun, and I mean, I love going to events. I mean, I think we're alike in that we're kind of self-improvement and growth junkies.
Yeah.
Sometimes can get overwhelming because it's easy to chase too many things and then just not have a lot of action. And Kayla, there are a lot of days, I don't know about you, but I know about me personally, like I sit here some days and I think, okay, is this worth it? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Even, we do a lot of video. One of the things that we're strong on is marketing. And I love helping people reach their goals. But, there are days when it's kind of a drag doing video or doing some of this extra stuff just because it's a tremendous amount of work. And so, I'll sit here some days and I'll kind of say to myself, should I be doing this? Nobody else is doing this. Is it really worth it? And then, Kayla, I get a message. So we do a lot of paid marketing online with our videos. And I get a message because we have kind of an AI component that will follow up. And then I send kind of an automated personal text message to an individual, just kind of checking in with them and saying, hey, it appears you have interest. Can I provide any info or set up a time for you to see the property? And this individual responds, no, thanks. I'm not a buyer. Your marketing is awesome. If I had a property to sell, I would use your expertise.
Love that.
That right there, is just kind of a reinforcing factor that, okay, what you're doing does matter. But you ever have that feel?
Yeah, and you're playing the long game, Andy. That's the thing is a lot of people think that, we're just working in our circle and we're working off of just like I get a lot of business from realtors or financial planners, but the fact of the matter is all day, every day, you're constantly branding yourself and putting yourself out there. And it's so easy to get in your head like, oh my gosh, this video or this reel or whatever only got X amount of views, or a podcast only got X. Well, how many people have we had in passing say, saw your podcast, whether they listen to it all or just get a little blurb? I can't share enough. And I love, love, love that you shared this personal message because it's the long game. And I truly believe that the people that are utilizing marketing and social media and video, they're staying relevant. They're staying in front of people. And that's what people want. They don't just want a product or a rate. They want to work with a person. And just like when you watch, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but just when you watch a show and I think of Kelsey Ballerini. I love Kelsey Ballerini. If I saw Kelsey Ballerini in passing, I'd be like, yo, Kelsey, what's up? Because I feel like I know her because she's, you follow her, you're exposed to her. And then, she'd have no idea who I was, but it's kind of that same thing as you have this free platform, sometimes free platforms to share and to educate and to guide people. Why not utilize it? Because you're reaching more people than you realize. And I think it's so easy to get in your head when you're online doing all this marketing, thinking who's even seeing this? And that probably just made your day, Andy, if I had to guess.
It certainly did. Again, it's a piece of positive reinforcement that I'll probably add to my wall above my desk in my office at home, just because, again, sometimes it can be overwhelming, when you're thinking about all of the different things you do. And again, it's like what's worth it and what isn't. So yeah.
It's easy to say. And I think too, like we've talked about, Andy, like, hey, this podcast, we've been doing it for years. But when we start to get little messages from people like, wait, I haven't seen you in a week or two, or, hey, I love that episode. It's like, oh, wow, you listened to it, because you don't know who you're touching. Just because people don't like and comment on your post too, it doesn't mean they're not seeing it. So.
Nope, right on. I really like it. Kayla, I want to mention really quick before I forget about it today. So, and I actually want to invite you to this. Are you going to be at the lake next weekend?
Yes.
You never miss a lake weekend. Good for you. So we have been working with a developer on the south side of Otter Tail Lake. They developed kind of this community called the Norwood community. And so it's something that's really kind of unique. And so we're having a beach party, Kayla, next Sunday, the 29th. And it's from 1 until 5 o'clock. And so it's going to be kind of a fun beach party with some live music, swimming. They've got pickleball courts. ABC Brewing is sending a bartender, going to be serving beer, ice cream, and just kind of a cool way to check out the development. So I would love it if you and your entourage would make an appearance, Kayla.
Are pit bulls accepted to be?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, the developer of this, they own Prairie Peak Kennels just around the corner.
Love.
So they are big dog people. So yeah.
Love that. That's awesome. Do you see a lot of traffic there when you do those events?
So we've done a variety of open houses last year, and this year we've done one so far, and just trying to do a larger event just because we do have a finished house, that's being kind of long-term rented, and really looking to get more homes sold or have some people buy into the development long-term, because it is something that's really unique and a fairly affordable way to get Otter Tail Lake access. So anyway, I think it's something that's really cool. I'd love for you guys to come check it out because, I think you'd appreciate it, especially as someone who works in housing.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. That'll be fun.
Well, Kayla, I want to chat a little bit about the market because, of course, we talk about real estate every once in a while as well.
We do.
And Minnesota Association of Realtors just put out their May housing report. And kind of the gist of it is, if you're looking to sell, you're probably not alone. Like we've talked on past episodes, Kayla, there are probably 500,000 more sellers out there than there are buyers. And this kind of talks about it from the Minnesota angle. So if in May of 2025, there were 16,200 homes for sale statewide. That's an increase of 10%. The median sales price was up about 3%. Homes were on the market about 37 days across the state on average. about 6,600 closed sales, so down just a tiny bit in
Okay.
about 3 months of supply, which is up by about 11%. And so this just really talks about the fact that, hey, we're starting to see more inventory. Sales are kind of remaining flat. Even kind of like we alluded to earlier, we're starting to see people be able to take a little bit more time. We're having to, prod people a little bit more to see if they're able to get out and make an offer or do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then lake shore sales. Have you noticed this summer? I've noticed having more lake listings, things are moving a lot slower. Have you been selling or putting for your buyers less lake properties under contract, or is it about on par what you usually do?
It's funny. This year I've had 3 in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So, but again, it could just be the situation, the person. But I feel like last year I didn't do, now again, that year it was a difficult year, same with 2023, but I feel like I'm doing more, but it could just be my clientele right now. But I feel like you're exposed to a lot more out there.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say that, again, like we've talked, unless things are all of the stars align and it's the perfect property, people are sitting on the sidelines and are not willing to pay, maybe what they've paid, in past years. And, affordability really is kind of an issue. And I came across this as well, Kayla, online, talking about the 5-year home price gains since COVID. And so really the gist of this is we've had some big gains. Like if you look over, on the East Coast, this is really led by like Vermont, Rhode Island, parts of the Southeast. I mean, they saw 50 to 70+% gains in home value or home prices. And so that's been really great, Kayla, if you were a longtime homeowner, because obviously you've got a thick cushion of equity that you're sitting on.
Oh, yeah.
It's helped keep the market steady as well as rates shot up. But Kayla, that run is starting to cool a little bit. As we kind of look at the market, Redfin reported recently that prices slipped about 0.1% in April, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's the first monthly dip since 2022, which means that, hey, we're maybe at the top of the roller coaster. Economists are starting to expect maybe a 1% slide by the end of the year. 80 metro areas, Kayla, already seen year-over-year declines from Phoenix to parts of Florida. We've talked about how tough Florida's been hit, and even, clients that we work with looking at Arizona and just having, people call and beg to say, boy, bring us an offer on any number of these properties down there. So the latest Case-Shiller index also posted a rare month-to-month drop, another sign that the fever is breaking. Rising inventory and fewer bidders give buyers more leverage, yet the picture still kind of varies depending on zip code.
So, Andy, in this chart, so we've got, let's just look at Minnesota, 39.7. It says 5-year home price gains. So is this chart from NAR stating that Minnesota has seen an increase of 39.7% in prices, so the cost? So
the price of the home. So this is saying, since Q1, beginning of the year 2020 to the beginning of the year in 2025, an average home price has jumped up, call it 40%.
So do you feel, or are you seeing, I should say not feel, but are you seeing that the values are also increasing as well? So if you're owning a home from 2020 to 25, obviously you're in a better position, right? But if you're buying, are you saying that this chart is like, hey, heads up, it's getting more expensive for the buyer, which is then advantageous for the seller?
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes hand in hand. So yeah, for sure. So we know affordability is a major issue. So like again, right now, I think back to myself, like in 2018 when we bought our house, and I look at what we paid for it, and I look at what it would potentially sell for now. I mean, obviously, that's a huge benefit for us as homeowners because we've got a lot of equity in this home. But if we want to go and sell and move up or something like that, or build, I mean, obviously that's going to be a huge issue. I think we've looked at affordability in the past too, and just talking about how like in the 1970s what a household income had to be, and how like today it's almost like what was the average, like $120,000 home, or $120,000 household income was required to buy a medium price house of somewhere in the $330,000 to $350,000 range. which is a huge issue. In fact, I since you're bringing the social media, you'd probably love this, as I found this on social media the other day talking about affordability. When the 83-year-old starts hitting on you at the store and you realize this is your only shot at home ownership.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing
There's kind of some truth to it, but
yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I bring this up because, I just did, people are waiting for rates to drop. Well, are you waiting for rates to drop by a quarter, 0.5%? And I just did the math just really quick, thinking of like an average lake home, $500,000, 6.5% principal and interest, for example, Andy, would be $31.61 at 6.5. At 6%, it's $29.98. A difference of $163 per month if you wait for rates to drop by 0.5%. And I share that because we're seeing that the prices are increasing as well. So $163 a month that you're spending, think about what you're gaining in your equity and in your appreciation. And I think too, we also forget on the other side, usually if you're selling, you're probably buying again. So it's like, even though you're selling at this, higher price, you're also stepping into having to pay that higher price. So in a way, it's kind of a wash, but I feel like there's just so much drama in the media that we really just need to focus on the data like you've shown.
Yep, absolutely. I think so. And, Kayla, there are a lot of people out there, and we often talk about it. People have questions, and I always say the door is open, as you do as well. Reach out. And obviously, we have a number of people that reach out to us, online, over the phone, out in the community who have questions, and always happy to answer questions. But there are a lot of people that, hey, when I'm starting my process, I really like to fact find online, and there are a lot of great resources, including one that you passed along that I think we're going to include on our website, myhome.freddiemac.com. Talk about this a little bit, Kayla, and talk about some of the benefits and why this might be a great starting point for individuals to use, even before reaching out.
Yeah, now more than ever, I feel like the people that have a pre-purchase consultation, they're talking to their lender, they're having conversations. There's so much assumptions that go on. So this is Freddie Mac website. It has many, many calculators. So many times people are afraid to reach out. I've got a calculator on my app that people can use to run numbers, but this is a rent versus buy, a budgeting. There's a worksheet. There's a DTI ratio. There's housing expense. People will say, I know I'm pre-approved, but should I be buying? Like, is this responsible? And I'm like, here's the rule of thumb, what you can do. Some people say, hey, how much does it look like if I pay down an extra payment per month? What does that look like for years saved or interest shaved off? Well, this is a one-stop shop for people to really just take advantage of all the sources, all the tools. There's so much information out there. And so I share this because I feel like a lot of people are just afraid to ask the question. And when you empower your buyers, you empower your sellers, these tools do that for you. And so it's just a one-stop shop for just some data, some helpful tools. I mean, there's probably 30 calculators on there. So just a resource for our clients.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. So I was just kind of looking at this really quick, and I haven't looked at this yet, but I was just doing quick math. Like, hey, if I put in that I'm paying $1,200 a month rent and $15 a month renter's insurance, rent's going to go up by 3% a year. This is telling me, and I don't know what assumptions it all makes, but you'll save $7,500 by buying instead of renting over the 7 years. So not significant, but then you're also not gaining equity, when you're paying rent.
And this is something we do with our clients is, people think, I'm just going to shop around a lender and ask what their rate is. What's your rate? What's your fee? I lost a client last week, Andy, because my homeowner's insurance was more. We don't determine homeowner's insurance.
It's just an estimate. Go ahead and get your number.
What was that?
It's just an estimate on your worksheet. They can pick a number or pick someone of their...
Yeah. And the client just didn't understand, no matter how hard I tried. So client's not for me then. However, I share that because, now more than ever, we really try to educate our clients, and that rent versus own. We also have a tool that we pay for here at the bank that we can show what the appreciation gain is, what your equity gain is. And so again, the data is so important because it's just so easy to say, oh, I'm paying $1,200 for rent and $2,000 for a mortgage. Why would I do that? Well, when we show the data like this, it's just education.
Sure. Interesting. Kayla, maybe this is probably a conversation for off camera. I'm really curious about your process, and I've been reflecting a lot just because when you get out and you get into the busy season, there are a lot of people that, they want information, they want it now, they want a pre-approval letter, or in my case, hey, we want to go see this property now, or we really come out, we want to, we're looking for an agent, to sell our house. And it's so easy to jump at all of these opportunities. But then the question is, how many of these individuals are actually going to work with you? Are they shopping you? And I know that resonates with you because obviously you talk to a lot of people, but how many of them do you convert? Probably 70% or so. Maybe your number is more than that, but I was just looking at, like on the real estate side, generally you're probably only going to work with 70% or even less of the individuals that reach out to you. And so how are you spending your time? And so really something that I've started working on, which is, and I bring this up just because of all these great tools on here, but just spending more time on the front end, fact finding, and really feeling an individual out and seeing, hey, is this person a good fit, or am I wasting my time? Am I providing free consulting services?
It's been on my mind a lot lately. In fact, I'm talking to my coach about it tomorrow. Here's a real deal. Lenders can help clients for years and years and years, provide data. Like, how hands-on I am. I'm high touch, high time. But we all know that sometimes a client will switch. So I feel like it's really letting people know up front, listen, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to invest time and energy, and you are going to feel empowered. But then how do you keep them from shopping? Because they could go online and find a lower rate at any point. You make 100 dials, you'll find someone with a lower rate. Same with your real estate agent. You could make 100 dials and find someone that's going to, charge you 0.5% less, I'm sure. And so I think it's really setting the stage up front with our partners and our clients and saying, this is what you get with Team Kallander. We want your commitment up front, because the unfortunate part about being in mortgage is that we don't have a consultation where we have someone sign an agreement that says they're going to work with us. They could be in contract working with the lender and switch halfway through. And so there's a lot of time that people don't understand that mortgage lenders put into it, and you're not guaranteed anything. So I think it's really having to set that tone up front with everybody. So
I've got a book for you, Kayla. I think you'll really like it, and this would probably be part of the podcast that isn't geared towards the consumer, but more towards the other professionals who I know are out there watching this as well. But it also applies to those in sales in general. Kayla, the book is called The Full Fee Agent. So how to stack the odds in your favor as a real estate professional. And again, a lot of this, I picked this up from Hatch Summit. This was a big takeaway of mine, and I started reading it on Audible. And kind of the premise behind it is that people, like when they come to you, they know generally if they're going to work with you or not. Are you the favorite, or are you the fool? Are you the one that they're going to work with? Because, hey, like over the weekend, I went and visited with an individual who we've been close family friends, and they said, hey, we want to sell this property with you that belonged to mom and dad because mom and dad really thought a lot of you. And we just really appreciate that relationship, and we want to work with you. So are they shopping me? No, I don't think so. Could it happen? Is anything guaranteed? No, it's not. But, I'm probably the favorite in that scenario. Versus there are some other individuals that, will call and say, hey, we want you to come out. We'd like to list with you. And I've seen it recently in the past where all of a sudden, it's become pretty evident that they never had any intent of working with me. It doesn't matter how great my marketing is, how many 5-star Google reviews I have, the fact that I do a podcast with this attractive blonde mortgage lender, sometimes on a weekly basis. They don't care about any of that. They're oftentimes just looking for validation. They want validation that, okay, who you're working with, that they have this relationship is right. At which point you're the fool, because how much time have you poured into it? And it's, again, like I said, the same thing for any number of people out there working in a sales related field. So I think you should read that book. I think it would be awesome.
I wrote it down because now more than ever, time is precious, and you want to work with the people that want to work with you. And like we said, at the end of the day, it's not just about the dollar. I think about the people that are, they don't go and really shop, like automobile rates. They don't go and shop like HELOC rates. I mean, they do to an extent, but I feel like there's just this like push and power to be like, I need the lowest. And they don't realize that there's so much more that goes into it. And having the right people is so important until it's too late. And Andy, I can't tell you how many times I've had a client be like, I'm going to go with my bank, or I know, so-and-so, I feel obligated. Halfway through, they're like, shoot, can I switch to you? And I'm like, it's probably too late. And we don't want that for people. So the full fee agent.
And they're in that case, when they're working with their bank, they probably knew they were going to, the bank was the favorite and you were
the fool.
The fool.
Well, I think that there are a lot of people, you're spot on, Andy, and it's been on my heart and mind when you say, am I in the business? Like, is it worth it? Because it's hard, man. It's tough. This is a grind. And every month it starts over. We don't get residuals in this business. We don't get, anything like that. The clock starts over, and a lot of us are on 100% commission. And so we want to have those people that come to us because they know how we work, not because it's a race to the bottom for the lowest rate or the fee. So
right. Absolutely.
Amen.
I want to touch on just one final piece out there, just because obviously there's a lot going on in the world right now. I don't know. Do you ever listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast or get anything from them, or are you familiar with them?
Very familiar because of you.
Okay. So they're a real estate investment group that have a podcast and have a great online community. And so I always love the tidbits that they provide. And so I just got their newsletter over the weekend here. And it talked about, Kayla, the escalating conflict in Israel and Iran. Obviously, the U.S. is now involved in it, or has been taking part, and oil prices have been pushed up more than 10%. And that's really just the start. They were talking about Iran, kind of closing the Strait of Hormuz over in the Middle East, which would then, cut down on that. That's where about 20% of the worldwide oil comes from. And so it talks about the fact that, hey, oil prices could soar to 200 per barrel. They were in the 60s. I think it's 75 a barrel now. For those that have invested in oil or in it, hey, that's not a negative thing. But for the greater economy and and obviously this is more an issue of worldwide magnitude, but it could create a lot of economic fear. It could, cause inflation to skyrocket. It could cause home sales to slow down, just as people, again, uncertainty. We've seen the uncertainty over tariffs and trade-related things and how that slows people down. But I think, I guess, as I look at this, I would say buckle up. It could be a very interesting year. And again, like they talk here, we're looking at possibly severe inflation spikes, skyrocketing operating costs, and even a possible recession.
I was looking at a graph yesterday of what happens to interest rates when you're, before wars, or when, big economic, moves are made. And it's crazy. It's all over the place. There's nothing that says rates are going to drop if this happens. Rates are going to increase if this happens. One of I listened to the Housing Wire podcast, and this morning they were talking about, rates have been pretty calm despite all of these things happening in the world. And I think that it's going to be telling, especially with the news recently with Trump, with Iran. But I just share with anyone listening, like, you cannot let that fear, creep in, because we have years and years and years of people buying houses, years and years and years of huge things happening in our nation. Every single year something happens. And I think that it's going to be telling. I know the Fed met. There could be a couple more drops. Who knows this year? But
I don't ever count on it.
And that's just it. And the jobs report, if it comes out weak, that's going to impact rates more than ever. But I still think that if you want to buy, just like if you want to buy your car, if you want to go on that trip, you don't really, let the world stop you. So I think it will be telling what's going to happen in the next few weeks. And do you have any insight on predictions or forecasts on what you think is going to happen with the market or rates or anything?
I really don't, other than I think it's going to be volatile. I think at a certain point, Kayla, we're probably going to see a 3 to 6 month downturn in the market at some point. I think things are going to get tougher. When that'll happen, I mean, I don't know. I've heard, people saying, oh, we're going to have a recession. I mean, for years, just it's just increasingly strange between pandemic and, worldwide unrest. Just a lot of a lot of uncertainty out there. But again, like we can't change what we can't change. So I
Right.
think you put it very well that, hey, if it makes sense for you, if it works for you, get out there and do it.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And we'll report. We'll share what we hear. We'll share updates. And all I know is that, the ones that want to buy and the people in this business that really want to make it work for buyers and sellers, like it's business as usual for us until something else happens. So
Absolutely. Well, Kayla, I think that was a marathon episode for episode 80, but I think it was a lot of good information. So, so thanks for sharing this time with me and sharing your expertise.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we better see you out at Norwood this weekend.
Sounds good. Enjoy your week, Andy.
See you, Kayla.
Bye.